how how we finish up, what we need to pull together to create a cohesive look and feel for ourselves and to expand our knowledge of what kind of work we may be asked to do as designers. And so one of the things that I've been thinking about is type. And so I had, I'm going to just show in my little square here. I found this folded up in the back of a notebook, and I said, what is this thing? So I'm showing it to you here. It was an article about type, and I looked it up online. And let's see, do we have my sharing my screen here? And what we're looking at is a page of type and design, and this is online. And so it's about this thing it's this paper thing that I got, and I wanted to find out more about the article and what it's about. And it's shaping letter forms. And so this thing is online, and we've been talking in other classes about, and we'll show a couple more examples about how type is done in magazines and publications like Wired or something like that, when you've got columns of type and you've got images like this, that all this type that's going across the page is all on the same baseline. It's not a law, but it is the way it is. And so that if you're not even aware of that, or if I made you aware of it at one point, but you forgot about it, this is to make it clear that happens. I said, well, people don't usually do it online, but here it's being done online. And it's talking about different typefaces and how people have used typefaces and in publicity, like political campaigns and things like that. And people started to notice typefaces and wondered who made them. So the people who make and care about and create typefaces have started getting together over the years. So this is just about the meetings that people have had about type and about creating type and about using type. So it's not just about making the type. You're making the type for a purpose that has a look and feel. It's functional. It's recreational. It's all kinds of things. So this press reader article is about type, and it's the same article as the one I got in print and kept so that I'd find it in the back of my notebook and pull it out and be curious enough to go and find out more. So what were the two main words at the beginning of the class that we needed to be aware of? Either one will do.
Was it contrast? One of them? I don't remember.
It also starts with a C. It's curiosity.
And curiosity
is the main thing that a designer should have. And once you're curious about something, what do?
Research.
Yay!
Yay!
So, hypothetical situation. You're moving into a new town.
Hey, Beth. Hey, Beth. Hey, Beth.
Yeah.
I see on your desktop, it looks like a heart.
Yes, I made that especially for all you guys. I made a little heart.
Oh, okay. I thought it was just me.
All of my, I decided that they didn't have to be all lined up on the side, so I made a heart.
I love it.
A big blue heart. So it makes it a little hard to keep track of things because on the point of the heart down here is not what I'm actually looking at. What I'm looking at is the folder that has the stuff about what I just talked about. So you're a designer, you are going up to you've got to move up to Wairika or someplace like that. And you want to do design. What's the first thing you do when you get into a new place and you want to be a designer? What's the first thing you do? This silence is that everybody has their, what's the first thing you do when you're doing a certain kind of job and you go to a new place? What do you want to know about?
You're
Who-
curious.
Who else is doing the design in the area? How much do they charge? Who do they do work for?
The competition.
The competition. So I'm in Santa Cruz. I just got here. What do I do? Or I'm taking a design class and I'm thinking about, well, I'm thinking about making myself a portfolio, and I want to see what, you know, what maybe other designers do, right?
Yeah.
So I just want you to go blindly into the, you know, hopefully that there's not a brick wall, but some kind of a heavy mist that I can walk through and get this information somehow through, I don't know, some kind of magical molecular exchange. But what you probably want to do is go in and look at the, yeah, so you find out, oh, gee, there's a place called Upwork where a whole lot of designers go and do work. It's kind of an agency. It's kind of a, you know, what's this thing like? Then you look at that, and then you go start looking at, oh, let's see, here's one of the graduates from Cabrillo who's making websites now. And so this Melody Sharp. And then as I go through here, I notice that there are, and I look at just, so this is actually a tiny thing on her, so that right now we're having to design our portfolios primarily for online viewing, because we're all stuck online. We can't walk in with our portfolio anymore. We're in a situation where we might want to start kind of looking around at the competition. And so you would go in here and start looking at what people are doing, how they present themselves, what kind of colors they use, what kind of space, what kind of imagery, how do they, what's their little favicon? Does this do anything? No, it doesn't. That's not interactive. So where is the interactivity here? I'm not finding it right away. So that would be one. And then here's a group, a design group. And they've got metal type there. They're showing off that they are traditional, and they've got an image of some publications and awards testimonials about us. They've got a color scheme that's kind of sophisticated and laid back, and so they're showing a variety of things here in this little panel, which is an odd shape. There's this overall kind of thing that's kind of a rectangle with the swollen top and swollen bottom. And then you can start to look in there and see what's going on. I'm not going to pile those all up, but so this is, if you're designing at all, you really want to know what people are putting out there. How so this is a small symbol that represents Schaefer design. And then in small, their thing is to really show something that is very sophisticated and cool and not super commercial and kind of round and spiky. They're kind of round and spiky. And down here, when you click on them, anything else happens? No. It says it's not secure. I don't know what that means, but being easy to get to see is good. So this is our designer for Cabrillo. This is the one who's redoing our whole look and feel. This design company, and Dan Chiswick, who was in classes at Cabrillo, who has his own company, EZYZYK, Dan Chiswick. And so this is Cosmic, and you'll notice their little cookie up here that they use up here in the Cosmic hexagon. Is that a hexagon? Yeah. So trying to have marks that are recognizable from a small size up to a large size where you have your identity is carried throughout those, and we'll be looking at our own in a little bit. So when you go to learn more about Cosmic, and this carries through this little element that they've been using for years and they've kept around, and it's strong enough to be recognizable on its own once you've seen it. So those are some things to consider for the little element that you might use to go through. In looking at the typography, so they have a really nice thick and thin kind of angular, and I don't know what the typeface is, serif typeface with the small type and sans serif, which is easier to read. And they don't make justified type, so they're not justifying the type so that you have a lot of holes in it. So when you justify type left and right, the space has to be in there someplace so that it ends up with big holes between the type. So for these kinds of things, you do want to be able to do this with them. So as you design type, you need to think about all of the ways that something's going to get pulled and stretched. And then what comes in there is taking John's DM8 class so that you really know what's going on behind this. So when you go up to window here and
Shameless plug, the DM8 class, you can register for it now for the fall.
okay, so I'm trying to see the code behind here. Should be in Windows.
Are you in Safari?
I'm in Safari.
Okay, so what you need to do is first go to Safari menu and go to Preferences.
Oh, okay.
And then you need to go to, you see at the very bottom, there's a little checkbox, the very bottom of that window. Once you click on that, the Develop menu shows up now in your main menu, which wasn't there before. So you can click, and now you can see the code by saying show source code somewhere.
Yeah, this is really roundabout.
You should get rid of that dialog box first.
Yeah, yeah. So, well, we'll go far. Anyway,
But it's in the Develop menu if you want to see the code. Yeah.
You can look at the code in here. So this one is show.
Show page source right there. Yeah, show page source.
So page source.
That'll show you the source code.
What's happening in this page is, and you want to be able to do this. I can't pull it up. It's down here at the bottom.
Should be able to pull that little line up so it's bigger, but okay.
Yeah. And then I was going to try to pull this down.
Yeah.
But this is the line.
You can pop it out. You can pop it out if you look to the left, there's a little like a icon over, down, right there. Yeah, I think it's the one to the right of that. I'm not sure. It's one of those as a pop out. It pops the window out.
Okay.
Oh, it should have popped
So
it out.
this is
Okay.
docking it to the side.
Oh, okay.
So this is,
Oh, so it's the other
this
button.
is
Okay.
how this page is made. And that's why it's so important for you to be able to do that. I mean, the various CMS management systems, stuff like that, does this too. But ultimately, if you want to do your own design in a page that's made by any of the WordPress or any of the other Squarespace, any of those, you have to know code to be able to go in and customize the workspace and make it your own. So you have to know this stuff. And so that's one of the things that you would be considering as far as what's your next step, what you need to learn is you might want to start with just learning a CMS, content management system of some kind, and then taking it step by step, learning more code, and then. But I would suggest taking 60 right away. That's kind of what I'm getting from all of the indications for user experience and user interface design and all of that is you need to really be at that level of code. But you also need to be able to express yourself design-wise. And so just keep going in here. And so this is another company. And so some people are really ornate and kind of elaborate and decorative, and others are really minimal. So this one's just got kind of an atmosphere thing going on here. And I don't know if this mission is active down here or not, but I guess it scrolls. So then there's, if you're scrolling, then you get to something like this, and here's a magazine right over here. Let's take a look at that magazine there. So here's another magazine, and this has paragraph space here, but the paragraph space, again, is a multiple of the lettings. So if you're actually putting stuff on a page, I keep saying this over and over again, but I'm going to keep saying it over and over again because I want everybody to be aware of what's really going on a page that's professional. You can do it your amateur way if you want to, but you need to know that if you're not even recognizing what the professional way is, then it's kind of hard to do it that way. So I didn't know this was here, but it's just another example of what I was talking about a few minutes ago. So that's something that, and this having a way to see things large like this by just scrolling through is something to note. When you see it in a whole herd of images, then that's really hard to look at. So setting it up so that the clients can see the images in really clearly, that's good. So this is another case where this is creating see how stream is coming together, and there's a piece of the picture right in here. So these things aren't accidents, they're intentional, and you look at your job, you see what it is that needs to happen to create a continuity and a rhythm and focus, and put the viewer's eye directly on the thing that you want them to look at. So a very different sort of look and feel with classic typography that's just perfect for this design that's in the background, which looks like it's a not really very well done, it's not really very well done graphic. It looks like an auto-traced Illustrator graphic. It's got a little bunch of things in here that anyone who actually does script with letters would not do that. So this thing in the background, at first glance, looks like it's a really elegant, beautifully constructed thing, but it's got a bunch of mess in here because somebody auto traced it in Illustrator and didn't see that it was crappy looking when you looked at it closely and just popped it on there. I mean, at first glance, it looks pretty good, but what's going on with all of these really elegant swirls and swashes is bad news. I wouldn't hire them. So, okay, so those are some of the things in this one, and I'm going to go again for educational purposes and for your own business, and as you're going to decide what you're going to look like, where you're going to work, what your colors are going to be, what the space is going to be, seeing what everybody else does is a good idea. It's really important, especially if you go and design something that you've kind of adapted from another designer or something like that, or may have done innocently. If you don't know a lot about who's out there and what they're doing, and you do something that seems, oh, that's pretty cool, and it turns out to be something you've seen before and it's somebody else's design that you're actually remembering and reusing. So thinking about the typography here, the way space is used, the imagery that's used. So I don't know if I'd probably be afraid to sit on that couch. I'd spill coffee right away or something. But it looks like it's kind of got a funky thing there, so they might not mind. Anyway, so again, this is following up on being a designer in an area who's making a portfolio that you may want people to look at and hire you based on. So you're looking at portfolios of 15 or 16 other designers in the area to see what type they use, how they fill their space, what colors they use, what their kind of logo icon deal is, and it's clickable in this case. So it kind of invites you to do that. And so let me go to, so how do they put things on the page when they're showing them off? So we've got a look and feel for this page. What if I want to see one of these by itself? Can we do that? Yes. So user interface, the way people use your site, and your portfolio will develop from being a set of elements to becoming a place where things happen. And at the same time, we talked about what if you had physical things. So Bridget and we were talking about if you have something like a book or something like that. Here we've got this physical thing. It's obviously kind of a weathered piece of paper that has sort of a print thing, or they're trying to make it look that way. So these are actual, and it's on birch. it's pre-paper. It's before it became paper. So those kinds of things are good to know about. How are things displayed, and what is going on? And here's a company that's hired a couple of students to do code out of some of our graphic design students. Chris Brunner was trying to do graphic design, and then I found out that he is a coder. So he ended up going to had a little internship at Jaguar because they needed user interface designers for their web design. And so they needed somebody who knew about the graphic part to put things together with their designers. And then he went on to CSUMB and started a company that's primarily about merchandising and web design and identity, keeping your identity in your product. I've probably had too many of these things. So this is a wonderful illustrator and original art person. So you can go and see what other kinds of things. So we've got quite a range here, and looking at how type is delivered, and see. I don't know if these are any of them clickable, no, but it gives you information. So if you're putting type on a screen that you want people to look at, that's also something to think about. So I'm going to get rid of a few of these too. So in your searches, in your research, you are educating yourself about what is out there and what looks good to you and what you could adapt or adopt. And you also notice that almost everybody has a little something, a little nugget that they use that's convenient and viewable in small sizes. So it could be pretty large, it could be pretty small. Then you can look at so this is one way of doing a portfolio that is a little bit, if you wanted to look at this Arbor Organics, it should follow the same pattern. You should have arrows here so that you could then go through and look within a section at whole screens of something rather than a bunch of things in one screen. So those are all possibilities. So looking at colors and at typefaces and what works for you, what attracts you, and is working on a page that so these are a lot of identities that are really strong, and not too many, just enough. Again, what you do with your white space around something makes a big difference. You jam them in too close, and it doesn't take much to, just a little closer, and these would be too close. But finding out about these different brands and then making it, so this is the method that I typically kind of like, and keeping the identity, the strong kind of identity over here in the corner so that you're looking at that. So this lets you know that that's the home spot. It's like these are all things that they've done. So when when you see logos in a hoarding like this, like at the end of like you're at a film festival and all the sponsors are up there on the screen and there's all these are appearing as different sponsors. This company, probably these designers, like Bertoni, and who's another Cabrillo student. So quite a few of the people who end up in these companies have come to Cabrillo as art or DM students, or they come back to Cabrillo, to John's class, so that they can learn about how to put this stuff together for the web, because that's a major skill that you want to have. And what comes up right away is this little Nombat thing right up here in the corner. So again, it speaks to having that little cookie, that little nugget, that little thingy that you make. So I gathered up as many as I could of yours and I have them on a page coming up in a bit, just so we can take a look at that. So it's hard to tell what's interactive here, but this little menu will help me. So lots of space, and keeping the transparency going so that you would be able to see where you've been and where you're going. And so this is another way of presenting things if you've got a lot of stuff, but then it would have to be crispy neat. It gets a little bit confusing, but when you roll over these, then you have, again, the knowing how to do rollovers, make them so that you go to Santa Cruz Wave magazine, so they're doing work for this magazine. It's one of the ones that I show in class for print. So if this is in a PDF that you're looking at online, it comes from the print version. And if you click on this, it might even open up the magazine. I don't know. Yeah, so it opens up the magazine, and it shows you pages. So, and this is the one that's well designed, as in the lines line up here like this, because this space right here is a multiple of the leading. So please just get that. Starting today, get that. Here it is again. So there's a lot of space around here, other stuff in the middle, but it all comes back to that. So that's something that it's hard to get across. Hard to get across, almost as hard to get across as packaging InDesign files and compressing them to turn in. So this company looks like it's got a nice design of its own, but this down here, the Breaker's Cup, no, I don't know. I don't want to stay there because it looks a little tacky to me. So this, okay, so breakdown design. So this would be a good one for showing what you have to think about when you have, you're thinking about when you do this. So this is how you would see this site on your phone. So you have to have the responsiveness in your layout, and sometimes not doing a fully justified paragraph, left and right justified, and centering it works best depending on how much type there is. So this is how somebody would be seeing it on their phone. You could, so those are all really important things to consider. So if I go here, and I just wanted to show separately. So this is Cosmics. I shouldn't have said, I should have asked you whose did this, but Cosmics. And then Studio Holiday. So Ted pays attention to if I was opening it on a small screen, it opens up with the look and feel of completeness, and like it was designed to be just like this, when in fact it was designed also to be just like this. So it works in both ways. And this has been this strange little thing with a little kind of exclamation point or something like that. That's been Ted's little logo deal. Here's a name for this. John, what's the name for this? Anybody know?
It's a little icon.
Little icon.
It's an iconette. I don't know.
Iconette. Yes, I like that. And then he's quite a bit about atmosphere, and he likes to show off his tattoos, which are really nice. He's been one of our advisors for the digital media department. So very personal. He also married one of our students in the DM, and they, I don't know if she designs anymore, but he snapped her up. And so again, these are all places that are in Santa Cruz doing design, having websites, and representing and serving different parts of the community. So knowing who's wild, who's tame, who's studious, who's business-like, all those kinds of things, and envisioning who you want to work with. So you put out your look that attracts the clients who you'd like to work with. So you don't try to make yourself into somebody else who may not be, your style. So keeping it so that it's you're appealing to people who you're going to want to work with, who you have good ideas about. So you put your ideas out there that appeal to them. And so these are all, I believe, they're their own logo designs. I don't know if they just, that would be quite a coup to actually have done the Adobe design. So those are some of the things that the results of curious research for people who are going into some kind of a profession that would be have to do with graphic design in a particular area. So that was Santa Cruz area graphic design. And I have some, let's see, the graphic design. And these are all the screenshots. So I have in here, when I made my heart, I think I put things in a place that didn't want fixed. Oh, here, this is good. So I did this, and I didn't rework everybody's, but I found something. Also, Eddie's been using the E separately, which I really liked, but I didn't, it was in with the DC, so I didn't do that. But all of these things, Julie had a couple more kind of small elements that are recognizable, but if you're looking at a series of pages and something like this appears, and the bee has, we've been seeing a lot of ways that the bee could look. And for ends, I call it the sun up. Ends just could be just a half orange circle or saffron circle. And it could, I looked around for something like that, and I don't see anything like that. You can also go online and look at icons, images, logo elements, images, whatever this thing is called, iconettes, iconet images online, and see how that looks. And then imagine how your image in small would carry in what part of it, like Joel's chevron, very successful kind of look. And so for, let's see, I was looking at, so I've got Joel's sent in his resume. I think this is it. This is the resume that he sent in. And so he's got some very strong elements here. And so I'm going to just pull this over here. Can't pull them over together, but. So this is, I'm going to put them side by side. So the top of it has a really strong centered element, really powerful. And then he's also got this element that can appear online as a favicon. And then he's got the least important things on the left that are distracting from the experience, which is the most important thing. So I took the experience and moved it to the middle to kind of show what's really going on with what Joel can do. And the skills are just little, it's just like footnote. Skills are like small. And if you've got something that's strongly symmetrical, then you strengthening it so that it hits with power and presence and has white space around it that throws all your attention on the experience. So when you have something like this over on the side, we start reading from left to right here in English. And so the left side, what you come up against on the left side should be the most important thing. So, and education, in this case, high school probably wouldn't be something you'd put in Cabrillo. And even though you're not in UC Davis yet, I would put it there because that's your plan. You're going to head there. And so the difference between these two, I'm not saying this is the only way to go, but I'm saying that when you're designing, you want to think about what it is that's strongest about your design and how it can direct the viewer's eye to what's most important that you want people to know about. And then what's your contact information? Make it clear. But this little element right here, I call it a chevron, J chevron, because I think it's made out of the J, has identity, really good, carries forward identity from if somebody sees this. And this again is not the only way you do this. I was just taking the pieces and rearranging them and resizing them because I was seeing something that needed to happen that wasn't happening. This wouldn't have to be this large if you were going to, you could make this all a lot smaller when your resume gets longer and whatever. But this is just kind of what sizes those were. So as you look at these little guys here, and think about how they stand on their own and how you might think of them in terms of a favicon element. Keeping it simple, so if you have something that's kind of you've got a real kind of simple way of designing with a lot of white space, or if it's full of interesting elements that you want everybody to see all at once, and how you showcase those is going to be important. And then how you put your identity for Eddie, I would say the E is really the strongest, and I don't, this distortion of the E is not, when you squish letter forms from how they were designed in the first place, they don't look as good as if you redrew the letter form as a narrowed piece of type. And the evolution of this one's working beautifully. It seems to carry a lot. These, I think, going straight to a kind of a, I called it a hexagram, I guess. Featuring the hexagon would be probably the most best thing to do with the little red border, because this starts to lose identity as it gets lower, unless of course you fill that in with red and put it on the, so you can see how with Seth's here, this really carries. I'm not sure if this is the element that would be moving forward as something that would be kind of on everything, and so that just, I wanted to see it on its own. And these from Brazil could be also smaller and in different colors. These shapes are really nice. This one, as it gets smaller, gets a little harder to identify. So might be, I saw lots of versions of the bee, and so I picked a kind of simple one, but there are simpler ones still. So this could get quite small, but trying to keep this identifiable in a small size would maybe require a little bit of rethinking. Wouldn't necessarily have to be that. So there may be another element, or it might be the cross there that could be part of that. But having something that carries your identity forward in that small space would be good. And so that's that little exploration there. And let's see. Oh yeah, so this is kind of a, so I was in my DM8 class, the students are working on their finals, and that because we haven't had print and haven't been able to print things out, it's been a little hard to, yeah, I think I have the magazine. So this was a Stanford magazine, and you can go and get the PDFs of these. No, get that. So you can go in and get the, so this is the cover of this magazine. It's all about fast food, and now this article ends up in being all about every kind of burger that's not meat, which is kind of a cool article. But I wanted students who were working on pages with columns to be able to see how, for instance, an article might start out. So these are all spreads of an article. Also, if you're somebody who would be doing kind of illustrative work that involves collage, a lot of these publications use that work. So finding out who, when you're looking at publications and seeing who the people are, maybe going off and seeing what their site looks like, and then if it feels like you might be a candidate, sending your work into Stanford Magazine or Wired or Fast Company or something like that might be worth doing if it seemed that that would be a way. So these articles often start off with a special kind of font that's not going to be in the text, and often start with large text to kind of get you into the article so that they sucker you in, so that when they get to the next page and you've got all this text to deal with, you're kind of willing to read it. You've read enough so that you'll probably keep reading it. And again, all of these spaces in here, above and below and around the subheads, are multiples of the lettering. This goes all the way across here to the other side. All lines up, all the way across. So it's does it in Surf magazine, it does it in this magazine, it does it in Wired, it does it in not all newspapers, but some, if they're weeklies, yes. So then what you do when you start bringing your images in for illustration. So if you're showing off a page of your work in your portfolio, make sure that it's a page that is professionally typeset. And it's my job to let you know what is and isn't. And then I just have to let you go on your way and do what you do. But I don't want to see any of this coming back. You didn't tell me. No, I did tell you. You're told. Okay. So we've got just a tiny bit of.
Hey, Beth.
Yeah.
What do you think of that in the pull quote there underneath the figure? What do you think about that opening the opening quote and the alignment? What do you think about that?
Well, I look at that. I look at that, but you know that is actually kind of working.
Okay, just asking. Just asking.
Because this little thing is out here, and this is very different from.
Yeah, because it's got the bracket. Yeah.
So that's got a bracket that's kind of strong there. Yeah, I looked at that and wondered about that myself.
All right, just wondering.
Yeah. So, and the other thing is, oh God.
The secondary, you know, in the left column, the little subhead, the secondary leading, I mean the primary leading there looks a little tight, but the philosopher's sponge, just a little on the tight side. Anyway.
Yeah, so they've had to do a little bit of work on it. This one right here.
Yeah, up the philosopher's
right
sponge. Yeah, it looks a little, the leading looks just a tad on the tight side, that's all.
Yeah, so I would probably go back and see if there are any double, so whatever they did it because if the next size up would have been
yeah, it looks pretty good though.
In order to keep the leading going across the page, then that's what it was about. Is they
and okay, so next question, if you go back to that second set of pages that you were just on.
Oh, those ones. Oh, okay.
Yeah, no, the other one. There was another set of pages you were just on.
Oh, the set of pages I was just on.
You were just there. You were just there. It's not that one. See where it says the plasma swap, that subhead at the top of page 2? Does that stick up a little too far for the alignment on the horizontal line across the top of the column?
Well, it might, but I don't.
It looks a little like it's protruding just a little too high.
It might be just a smidge. It might be.
I'm getting picky here.
The thing is that those things will be. The main thing is that they type all the lines across the pages.
Right.
So then this is the next thing just before the break here is my rant. Once again, you can see the title of the file is fake small caps. And just don't do it. Just learn to see that the capital letters you're putting with larger capital letters are smaller, thinner, more emaciated than capital letters. And you could get away with it. People do. It doesn't mean that you should go there. You should learn that if you're using so this is real small caps here, look like this. Fake small caps are like this.
Balanced.
They're just wrong. Then there are old style figures and that go with small caps. They were crafted, designed, drawn to go with small caps. And so again, these are just about small caps were created, hewn from lead or poured into molds to go with, we've got small capitals here. Small caps, Butter started, who was a lawyer who couldn't stand the way the law books were designed, typographically. So he went in and did whole redesigns of law books, and so that they were easier to understand and read. So these, again, this is more about small caps, and this is more about small caps. It's not a little side complaint of mine that is going on here. It really is something that you need to be fully aware of and know about. So just realize that. And Eileen Striswer is the, among the 5 most important type authorities on the planet. So you got to pay attention. And our fake small caps, faux small caps, okay. And then there's a sign. So as I say, this can happen. A non-designer can go in and do that. But this, again, shows you how when you're doing film credits and that sort of thing, you don't just shrink down a big letter to make a small letter. You would actually redesign it or find a font that where it is redesigned. So understand and applying small caps. So this is, yeah. So again, when you look at, in the faculty senate slides in the meeting yesterday, I took screenshots of some of the slides that were there, and they were using fake small caps, not fake small caps, but they were putting 2 sans serifs together that were not looking good together. And I thought, wait a minute. And so they had used Arial and something else. And just something good to know is that Calibri is one of the very, 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 very few sans serifs that has small caps. C-L-I-B-R-I is what you'd be writing down now if you didn't know what that was. Calibri. And that's a gift. They just gave that to us. So I was playing with that. I didn't include it today, but I might find it and show you. But that's also something to know that true small caps don't just exist for sans serif typefaces like they do more popularly for the serif typefaces. And it's also an indication of, do you know what you're doing or don't you? And I think you've all seen this. It's 332.
Sometimes you want that extra bit of typographic expression, and small caps are a good way to get that. They give this look of elegance and sophistication, but if you aren't careful, you could be making a typographic blunder. I'm David Cademy with Design for Hackers, and in this video I want to show you how you can use all the power of small caps without looking like you don't know what you're doing. Great typography is all about communicating hierarchy, and hierarchy isn't just about one thing looking more important than another thing. Sometimes you just want to show that a piece of information is different from the information that's around it. If you've taken my free course at designforhackers.com, you know there are all sorts of subtle ways design pros use to get that clean and clear look that communicates and converts. One of those ways is by using small caps. Basically, the first letter of each word is a capital letter, then all the rest of the letters are smaller capital letters. It's like a mommy duck is crossing the road and there's a bunch of other mommy ducks behind it.
I don't know about that.
It's like that. It's actually not exactly what
Baby
small caps
don't know.
are.
Baby ducks are not.
Fake small caps and real small caps. Fake small caps just feature smaller versions of the capital letters. Real small caps are actually a little wider and fatter than they would be if they were just scaled down. See the difference? So, how do you avoid making yourself look like a total typography noob? One way is to just remove small caps entirely from your typographic repertoire. Nobody will really notice, and there are plenty of other ways to express yourself in the Madonna typographic. Or you can just make sure that whatever font you're actually using has a dedicated small caps version. In CSS, you can include it in your document like so, and you can actually use it for something like an abbreviation like so. Many desktop publishing programs have a small caps button, and there are too many apps out there for me to go through them all, but Sometimes you'll get real small caps from this button, and sometimes not. It depends upon the application you're using and the font that you're using. Some open type fonts have real small caps built right in. So it's better for you to just learn how to spot the difference with your eyeballs and your brain, and then go from there. See if you can spot fake small caps out in the wild. You see some small caps on a sign in a strip mall, 9 times out of 10, they're going to be fake small caps. I'm looking at you, Chuck E. Cheese. If you'd like to learn other ways to express yourself Madonna typographically, sign up for my free course at designforhackers.com.
Okay.
I'm David Kennedy with Design for Hackers, and I hope this video helps you express yourself typographically. Madonna.
Thanks, Dave. Anyway, you may have seen that spiel before, and we're 5 minutes past our break, so we're going to start breaking, and then we're going to start looking at things that people are doing and how to wrap up. So we're going to spend a couple of hours or so doing that. John?